Hello people, this is Mark from KharisChangeWorks. Guys, hope you're all well. Something that's been bothering me, albeit it's quite a superficial thing, but when I explain it to you why it bothers me so much, you will hopefully understand and appreciate, if we all do this one thing, how much better life will be. Now, as it happens, me and my mate Dan, we had a conversation that kind of echoes this, or echoed it, because it happened a couple of days or so ago. And it is this thing called common courtesy. Now, here's the thing. We expect people to be courteous to us. It's the right thing to do. It's a reasonable expectation. Sometimes we are courteous to other people, and that's not a bad thing either. It's a good thing. The difficulty comes when those two entities collide and we have to be courteous to one another. Common courtesy. It might not happen all the time, but it does from time to time, and I will explain when this occurs and how, when common courtesy is not being displayed in this particular scenario, how it winds us up. It certainly winds me up. And how much different things could be if and when we exercise this perk of life called common courtesy. Let me explain it this way. I do a heck a lot of driving in my job. A lot. And as you can imagine, when you're driving on the motorway, the highway, or wherever you are in the world, whatever that main road is called, maybe a freeway or something, interstate, who knows, from time to time you get a on-ramp and you get a off-ramp. Now when you get a off-ramp, and this is the place where common courtesy collides with other people. So you're driving on the road, and there's another side street coming onto where you're driving. Now what I tend to do, whether I drive for work or whether I drive in my social time, when I see a off-ramp, I ignore it. When I see an on-ramp where cars are coming onto the same road as where I'm at, providing the adjacent lane is free from other vehicles, I move across to the other lane so that the joining vehicles can come on to the same road, or stretch of road at least, without any major interference. I believe in that circumstance I'm displaying common courtesy for my fellow vehicle driver colleague. However, when I, as a driver, is trying to come off the ramp onto the main road, and other vehicles choose to stay in that lane which I am trying to merge onto, and the adjacent lane is free, I often feel my blood reaching a significant high temperature, because it costs nothing to move across into the other lane. As I was saying to Dan yesterday, my one car got written off on the basis of said discourteous display from a particular driver. Mind you, this is going back a number of years ago now, but the principle still applies. When we make space on the road for said driving colleague of us, life becomes free. There's no emotional tension that rises in the person trying to get onto the road, and the person making space doesn't affect them at all. They're showing courtesy. But that ignorant so-and-so that chooses to stay in that lane, knowingly or unknowingly, raising the stress hormones in the other person, anxiety and what the heck are you doing kind of thing in the vehicle that is trying to come onto the lane, the driver, not showing much courtesy at all. Now I understand that it's not always possible, that there are other cars on the road, quite a lot of the time, and it's not always possible to merge into the second lane in order to make space on the merging lane. But how nice would it be if everybody just moved over in order to make space for that other driver that's trying to merge onto said highway, motorway? Now that's a very practical explanation of where I think common courtesy meet together. Now let's put it this way. Sometimes we have to make space for other people who is also trying to enjoy this journey called life. They are on the same road as you and I. They're also trying to merge into a particular experience. And when we are so ignorant or so arrogant as to not allow space for them to merge where we are at that moment in time, this common courtesy doesn't get applied in life for our fellow human beings. I wonder how much of our actions at that point in time is the cause of other people going a little bit stir crazy. It costs us nothing, folks, to show common courtesy to fellow human beings. Making space, figuratively speaking, creating time for them. It's not a big deal. Pardoning some of their errors sometimes is not really a big deal. Being a little bit gracious towards them, not always a big deal. Trying to go that extra couple of millimeters to try and understand that they too are trying to enjoy this journey called life, and being sympathetic, or better still, empathetic to the struggles of life that they might experience. I don't think it is always such a big deal, but we sometimes make it as if it is this humongous burden that we have to carry because we are on this road of life. And oh, how we blow our verbal foghorns and our emotional and psychological foghorns when other people show discourtesy to us, and yet we often do the same to others. In my humble opinion, that is hypocritic, that one, you know what I mean? So here is what I think. When we decide to make that choice to be courteous to one another as a global society, giving tolerances a little bit more grace, giving differences a little bit more understanding, asking different kind of questions to get different answers as to why people do what they do, in trying to understand and empathically understand where that individual is as they trying to merge onto the highway of life where we are at. It is not a big deal to move over into the other lane, to give them some space so they too can get in the flow of things, figuratively speaking, of course. It's not a big deal, folks. It's a big deal when we blow our foghorns, when people show discourtesy to us, when we are trying to join where they are at. That's a big deal. But manners and courtesy and grace and these nice things, these perks in life that we so often choose to forget, is free, and it takes you a long way in life. Doesn't cost anything to be friendly and courteous and gracious and understanding and forgiving and so on. It costs you nothing, but it gets you far. I wonder how many people in life have given you that space to join the race. How many times have you given people space so they can join the race? How many times have you shown courtesy to others? And how many times have people shown you courtesy? But it's not just on the road, is it, that we experience these things? It's not only at work or college or university, it's also in the household. And that is where I believe the learning should start, is at home, where you can be corrected in a loving, supporting manner, encouraging you to develop this, what I now think is a lost skill, or it's certainly a skill that is being eroded away by society and other entities, shall we just say, that we are becoming so selfish and so self-absorbed that the next door neighbor doesn't really matter, regardless of it's the next door neighbor or your fellow colleague or your fellow road user, your husband, your wife, or so on. Courtesy takes you a long way, and that is a massive umbrella for other components that make up courtesy. Forgiving, understanding, grace, and all these things that I mentioned previously, they are all the spokes of that make up that particular umbrella. So folks, please be courteous. It's not always shown as being appreciated, but I can bet you my bottom dollar that it is appreciated. Consider for yourself, when space has been made for you on the road, how you inside at least go thank you, or you do the universal thank you wave to that individual if it is applicable. It's not hard work, is it, really, when we sit and think about it? But by goodness, it goes a long way. I would like to hear your thoughts on this, because it's important things, really. Please do all the YouTube admin. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, do whatever it takes, but make this channel known. For now, this is Mark from KharisChangeWorks. I will speak to you soon.